Hey, hey, beautiful BTP fans. Oh, yes. My dream, to be worshipped. Yes. I am a benevolent God. Bleh. All right, anyway. Oh, that light is just like showing off my forehead. Hello, my son. Welcome back from the underworld.
Back to it.
Oh, and now he goes back into the underworld. I'm sorry. Hold on just a second. There we go. It's like, Sean, get ready. Get ready first, then press play. Oh, no. No, my friend. That's no way to live life. Press play first, then figure out what you're going to do. Oh, now I see why it's not moving. There's this little garbage can. It's literally caught on the carpet or on this little rug here. Okay, I've come to you today to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and my illustrious role-playing history. Oh, this is so bad. So bad. Should I go and redo it? No, I don't think so. I think I'll just let it be this way. I grew up in a family that loved the library, and we went at least once a week. It was the big family thing that we did, and I used to get science fiction and fantasy books, including fairy tales, which is where all of this Lord of the Rings stuff, C.S. Lewis, all of that starts with fairy tales. And when I was in 6th grade, I was 12 years old, and I went to a friend's house. He had a detached garage that had been converted into a bedroom. So like there was a little bathroom in there and the whole thing. And I got there one day, and he and another one of my friends were playing D&D on the floor of the room. And I was hooked. What is this all about? How does it work? It's like, it's an imagination game, and you can make any story you want, and here's the rules for it. And pretty soon, and they were asking me what certain words meant, like psionics, because I was the nerdy one in the group. And so I quickly became the DM, loved it, couldn't get enough of it. I was doing Dungeons and Dragons in the library, and I remember one of my friends was, we looked at his inventory sheet, and he was like carrying like 20 battle axes, 10 10-foot poles. He had all this stuff listed down. And we were like, hey, that's not realistic. You can't carry all that. One of the classic D&D things, the player that where you don't pay attention to encumbrance, it's too much to keep track of. But there's one player who's like carrying all of this ridiculous amount of stuff. There's no way that he could carry it. Then we discovered the bag of holding. It's like, oh, it's not a problem. You just have a magic thing where it all goes in there. And I remember they killed a gold dragon. Why not? Because we were just really slinging it. Didn't really know the rules. Didn't really understand the game entirely, except the basic idea that you would say what you do. The dungeon master would explain the difference in the surroundings. And they killed a gold dragon, and they were like, well, its scales are made out of gold, right? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, well, if we take all the scales off, how many gold pieces do we have? I'm like, I don't know, a million? And so they got 1 million gold pieces. And I remember there was a guy in another class, his name was Aragorn. And that was I don't think he got teased a lot, but he got teased a little. It was an unusual name. I didn't know at the time where it was from. I didn't start reading Lord of the Rings till I was like 20 years old or something like that. Yeah, I know, right? The first module on that magic day that they were playing was called Queen of the Demon Web Pits. And I was like, oh, I carried that thing around all the time. I read that module. I must know it by heart now. It's crazy. I love it. And there's a book called Expedition to the Demon Web Pits, which I want to get now, but it's kind of expensive now. One of the many rare books that sort of fell through the cracks while I was moving the studio around. Let me see here. One of them was one of those deities and demigods with the Melnibonian mythos in it. Yeah, would love to have one of those. Those are two that I'm kind of like, got to get them in my collection. But I'm kind of busy with other things right now. Other things are taking priority. So anyway, in the town I lived, it was 1st through 6th was elementary school, 7, 8, 9 was middle school, and 10, 11, 12, that was high school. So off I went to middle school, and I had a backpack and I carried around those books wherever I went. And that backpack got heavy after all. Hey, what's up? Oh, okay, continue. And that pack was pretty heavy. I loved my books. In 7th grade, I made my own system. And that was Quest. And I still have it. I have my old rulebook. It's totally tattered, torn apart, really. The cover is. But it's all dot matrix printer with my notes for the revision that I was going to do. And that was 12-and-a-half-year-old Sean. I wrote my own system, and it was around this time, age 13, that I was introduced to Champions. And Champions influenced Quest. Like, you can clearly see that I was just converting it to my own uses. Champions is the great role-playing system ever. Now, recently, and I've harped on it for years and years and years, finally I got a group to play it in like a fantasy setting, and it was terrible. Don't go back to your hometown. It's changed. It's awful now. It's not what you remember. Let things be how they are in your memory, for sure. And I remember Champions as being brilliant. And it is a brilliant system, but it's not great for fantasy. Don't try and run Champions where 20 orcs each have endurance, recovery, body, and stun. It's crazy. There's no way you're going to keep track of all those 3 stats for all of them in combat. It's nuts. And about this time, I got a copy of Castle Amber, which I loved. So I started using my own system and converting all these modules. So in a way, I didn't play Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, I don't think hardly ever. I called it Dungeons and Dragons, but it was really just, I was just converting to my homebrew system all of these modules and adventures. So middle school, 7th grade, loved Champions. I lived near the middle school, and I mean like I could have thrown a rock into the parking lot from my house. It was so close. So all my friends would walk, bike, or whatever, and they would converge on my house in the morning, and then when it was actually time to go to school, we would all go at the same time. And what a magic place. What a magic time to grow up. Totally innocent. And the parking lot was just dirt. And they would put like gravel it out once in a while. And now it's paved, of course, because I made the mistake of, driving by there for old time's sake. Now everything's different. It's lame. And that was like 6 years ago. So we would all walk to school, and we, just like in 6th grade, me and my little group of friends, we would play role-playing games in the library or wherever. I remember playing it at my friend's house in middle school. We would go to the different friends, and other than the mornings, we would never go to my house because I was super poor, like ridiculously poor, and we had cats. And once you get past like 8 cats, your place is gross. And I'm really sorry to say it, but there's the big debate is how many cats make you a cat lady or a cat guy, I guess. And we had a lot of, I remember one time we had 16 cats plus kittens. And most of them were outdoor cats, and it was rural Oregon, so a little different on that account. That's not like keeping them all in your apartment. But we had too many cats. And so anyway, I remember one day that, hold on, I want to tell this in chronological order. So middle school, I made Quest. I loved Dungeons and Dragons. I loved Champions. A friend of mine bought Lost Caverns of Sawcanth, and I wanted to read it, but he said he wouldn't let us, and he wanted to take us through it himself. I died pretty quick. Whenever I was a player, I would just like die in the first 3 encounters from just like doing something wrong because I wasn't paying attention. Now I'm a frosty mercenary. When I play, it's like I got it all roped in tight. And so, what else? I've cut out the soda, by the way. I'm just drinking ice water. And I gotta tell you, I'm a little addicted to ice water now. I love it. It's really good. All right, and I drink a lot of water, minimum a gallon a day. All right, so let's see here. Middle school, the thing. Oh, now I forgot the other story. So yeah, I typed up my things and printed them out on the dot matrix printer and went through middle school. Now, when we were in 8th grade and about to graduate to 9th grade, they changed the format. So they changed it so, excuse me, when I was in 9th grade and about to go to 10th grade, they changed the format so high school is now 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, a proper high school. And so I went from being on the top of the thing to not being on the bottom. And that was great. And so I went to high school, and again, always into my games. Sometimes in class I would just sit back and put my Dungeon Master screens up. The teachers never stopped me. At my school, they were completely liberal in the classic sense, maybe in the political sense too. I don't know, I just wasn't paying attention. But they were really easy. Like, I probably would not graduate high school nowadays. They just let you, like, I think half of the teachers must have been smoking weed. They were just really, it was a very, I don't know how to describe it. Like, the teachers were they were kind of part hippie. And it was great. Looking back, I'm like, this is awesome. I never remember my teachers being overly hard on me. And even if they were, it was with a good cause. Like, they wanted me to succeed. They wanted me to pass the class, all of those things. And so anyway, Dungeons and Dragons wise, I collected all the old modules. I ran them whenever I could. We would spend the night at John's house. And by the way, John, my friends from high school, we were friends the whole time from 6th grade to 12th grade. It was pretty much the same group. And so anyway, he had married his high school sweetheart. She actually passed away recently, and that shook me up pretty bad. I was going to write a eulogy. I never got around to it. It was too emotional. But it's the first person in our group to pass on. Anyway, so we go over to John's house, and his mom, who was a widow, she would make dollar pancakes the next day. It was great. That was really the play. We would go to John's house. It was kind of in the suburbs of Ashland, Oregon, Southern Oregon, and just a beautiful little semi-farm home with, I'm pretty sure they had chopped wood there. A lot of my friends had, like, cords of wood stacked up outside their house, which at the time, to me, it's like, well, of course, why would not everybody have that? And now I'm like, oh, not everybody uses a wood stove. And we'd go to John's house, and now that I think back on it, I realized that really we were just using my homebrew system the whole time. And it was about this time that I got introduced to GURPS, Generic Universal Role-Playing System. And I just used that extensively, converted everything to GURPS. Loved that system. Point-buy systems are my favorite. And I've run almost every classic module that there is, just an absolute ton of them. And now over the years, as special little treats to myself now and again, I've picked up modules here and there. Recently I went and did like a list of them to see, what I was missing. And I got to tell you, I'm not missing anything I want in terms of old D&D modules. I basically went back and picked up all the ones I remembered. And boy, what a blast from the past. Absolutely fantastic. Isle of Dread, oh my gosh, hold on, I can remember so many of them. Descent into the D series. I can't remember. Vault of the Drow, Descent into the Depths, and Shrine of the Kuatoa, and also the Giant series. I ran the D series in high school. Oh yeah, that was the story. one day my mom comes home and I'm sitting on the couch like making notes on this adventure, and all my friends are like cleaning the house, like vacuuming, doing the dishes, whatever. She's like, what's going on here? I'm like, they're cleaning the house. She's like, yeah, but why are they cleaning the house? Because I told them I would level them all up if they did it. And she's like, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm making the adventure harder. And there you've unlocked one of the great secrets of Dungeons and Dragons. You're just always on par. It never gets easier. But there is a sense of progression, which is really one of the great things about it, to develop a character, have a story, and then get higher level. In a way like life, except in my case, I've actually I fought all these things and my level has gone down, actually. So anyway, graduated high school, and then of course everyone goes off to the Four Winds. Right after graduating high school, I went down to spend the summer with my grandparents in Southern California, which was an absolutely magic time. I didn't do any role playing during that time. I came back home, lived with roommates, role played my guts out. So that's a new age. After graduation, I role played a lot. And this would be 1988, by the way. Had a roommate. And what system? We were doing GURPS. Skyrealms of Jaroon is one of my favorites. I'd still like to collect all that stuff. That'd be really cool. I would have loved to have seen that setting take off. I don't really know what happened. I think they ran into copyright issues. I think a lot of times it's a couple of guys, they start making this creative thing, but then if even a little money shows up, then they start fighting over who really owns it. And that kills it. So I guess that's how that goes. And this was a great time. I was on my own. I worked at a video rental store where they did VHS. This is during VHS versus Beta. And I was just a single kid, 19 years old, living with his roommates. And we role played all the time. Oh my gosh. And actually before this, there was a period of time where I was couch surfing. Yeah, I got back from California and I was just staying at friend's house in a rotation. And I'm sure I'm not the only genius to think of that idea. And but I would run sessions, so I was kind of like a traveling bard. And this was a great time. Oh, Rollmaster. For my 16th birthday, my high school buddies bought me Rollmaster and Spell Law and I don't know, whatever, Character Law, I think it was. So I did a lot of that, actually. Yeah, I forgot about Rollmaster. And quite frankly, using a lot of D&D supplements, and I use the Dungeon Master's Guide as a reference and whatnot, but actually probably not officially playing Dungeons & Dragons. I used other systems. And then after a couple of years of that, at age 21, I went on a mission because I was Mormon at the time. And I was Mormon age 15 to 42. And gung-ho for it, too. Loved it, had a great experience. I wouldn't not recommend it, and I wouldn't recommend it either. It just depends on who you are. But I had a great time and have nothing but good things to say about it. And I got back from my mission, so I was 2 years completely dedicated to what I was doing. I went to South America, and that's where I learned Spanish. Came home, dated a little bit, not very much. I was super involved in church. Got to role playing again. Oh, thank God. 2 years with no role playing. That was brutal. And we were playing Shadowrun at the time. That was the thing. And I was living at home, had a bike, didn't have a car. I was pathetic. I actually didn't even have glasses till age 20. Finally, it was like, Sean, do you need glasses? And I realized all through high school, I learned to identify my friends by their gait, by their walk, because I thought that was the normal thing to see, but I was actually just seeing fuzzy lumps. And you just get used to it if your vision isn't great. And that's why I had trouble in school too, because I wanted to sit in back so I could never see what they were writing. I could never see the blackboard. And how did I not notice this? But I just sort of got involved in my own thing and somehow graduated. I was great at taking tests because I was great at like extrapolating information. And in fact, on my SATs to get into college, I only missed 4 questions. I don't remember the actual score, but I do remember extrapolating that, and because I did very well. And I remember the SATs being super easy, and I was like, oh, this is not difficult. And so got in, but in high school, my GPA was 3.6 my freshman year, and then the next year it was 2.6, and the next year it was 1.6, and in my senior year, my GPA was 0.6, D's and F's. But I wrote this amount of stuff, handwritten, full-spaced, both sides, for all my D&D things, and just had reams of like dot matrix printer stuff. And so yeah, you guys are spoiled for technology. Today is a great time to live. And so I got back, started role-playing again, had roommates again, but not for long, because I got engaged to my first wife, to Tammy, and it was magic. Didn't realize it at the time, but I grew up in a magic city. I met a magic woman, had a magic relationship, because we were inseparable. And that's rare for you to, like, for everything just to click immediately, completely, and perfectly with someone. And that's how it was with Tammy. We were inseparable. It was clear that we were meant to be together. An amazing feeling. And we just got along. We could not get enough of each other. From the first date. Like, we met, we went out on one date, and then the week after the first date, we spent like 50 hours together. We just became inseparable. And that's magic. And now I know getting out there again, which is another story, that does not happen. So I got engaged, role-playing the whole time, loved it. I ran a changeling game, which is a white wolf. It's out of the 5, it's like werewolves, vampires, mages, undead, something like that, and then fairies. Yeah, changeling, the something or other. And so we played that. I got my new wife after Tammy and I were married. I got her into that, and we were playing, and I think we were actually using that system, but I invented this whole thing. I did a live action puzzle introduction with just the players, like down at the park. It was this giant chess thing, and the statues that were in the park all had like hidden meanings and things, scavenger hunt things hidden on them. It was really cool. And that was a magic time. Tammy and I were first married. I was getting into Magic the Gathering, and I played Changeling. I ran a Mage the Ascension game. A year later, in '98, I want to say, I started my game shop in Medford, Oregon, Invincible War Games. Looking back, Invincible Games would have been a better name for it. If I started a game shop, I'd probably use that name now. And I have thought of it. But then, of course, starting a game shop, the only way I would do it is if I were somehow all of a sudden independently wealthy, and I would just do it for fun. But then I'm like, why would you do that then? And have like customers and the whole thing, and have to vacuum the place? No, thanks. I would just start a lodge, and people who I thought were interesting, I would invite them out. And by the way, if you want to get on my list of interesting people to invite out for stuff, send me an email, and I'll keep you on the list. I'll have to find out if you're interesting or not. And so anyway, that's how it goes in my fantasy world. All right, so let's just back it up again. And I was playing GURPS. Oh, I ran Dragonlance 1 through 14, all Dragonlance modules. I converted it all to GURPS, Generic Universal Role-Playing System, and then what else? Oh, and come to find, I wish I had kept those modules because they're super rare now. And I picked up a set of 1 through 10, that's hard to find. I have them up on my store now though, because I kind of regret it. I'm like, yeah, I should be more responsible. So I'm selling them off, and I also have a Facebook post for 6 big old Warhammer 40K books. And I'm selling those. Local pickup only, though. Well, I guess unless you wanted to splurge on the ship, I guess. But anyway, if you just contact me and I can tell you what the link is, I guess. If I still even have them. Maybe it's a bad idea to say that. Well, doesn't matter. What else? Then 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons came out. I said, 4th edition? Wizards of the Coast bought them. Those are the guys that make magic. Surely it must be wonderful because magic is so amazing. So I started buying all the books for that. And it ain't a few either. I wish I would have kept them because I remember I just donated them somewhere. Did I donate them somewhere? I got rid of them cheap or for nothing. And that was at the Badger Hole. So now we're way fast forward. We're fast forward to 2008. And of course I was young and married that whole time, living in California till 2003. I didn't move to Utah till 2004. And in the studio, I was always running role-playing things. Loved it. In the Badger Hole, I was running 4th edition, and some of those things are recorded a little bit on the channel. By the way, I have 7,049 videos on the channel. That's crazy. Oh, but not all of them are visible. I've taken a lot. I've taken maybe, I think 10% of them off. I go through a page of 50, and there's maybe 3 to 5 of them. Yeah, it's not even 10%. That are just, and those are things where I just send it to the client, or maybe I just don't want it up anymore, or it's family stuff too, and it takes a while. So sometimes I'll have people contact me, Sean, you don't know me, but I just watched all your videos. I'm like, oh, do you still have a family, or is your marriage still intact? Because it takes like 5 months at full time to actually sit down and watch all the videos. But of course nobody does that. They just have them on in the background. That's watching something. And so, 2008-ish, yeah, I'm running 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons. So I'm actually back to Dungeons & Dragons at that time. And, I also, back in Oregon, when I had my game shop, I ran, there was a librarian friend of mine. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in the library. She was like, hey, there's this group, like a youth group that wants to play. So I ran them, and it was good. It was really good. I ran Sky Realms of Giron converted to GURPS. And all right, so anyway, I'm married, and 2008, and I think that's it. I've been running. What have I been doing? What system am I using? 5e hasn't been. Oh, Pathfinder. Yeah. I've ran a lot of Pathfinder. Recently, okay, so now to present time. 2018, I ran Kingmaker. No, 2019, I think it is. Okay, here we go. 2018, I ran Horde of the Dragon Queen. Both times, I ran it all the way through and ran using 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. And of course, my style has always been like super powered. I just play fast and loose with the rules. I don't even need to know all the rules. I just make judgment calls as I go along. Not a problem. Well, no longer, because I kind of like the version where I'm running it by the rules. So I had one of my players who wasn't really keen on the other players just doing whatever and not really keeping track of their inventory and how loose I was and she was with it. And she said, hey, why don't you run a game strictly by the book? Like, awesome. I picked Kingmaker. And that's a adventure path from like 2010 for Pathfinder. Pathfinder is really Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 like revamped. So it's 3.5 split into Pathfinder and then 4th edition. 4th edition, I gotta tell you, it really was awful. Anything can be a good role-playing game though if you just have a good story, a good DM, a group that shows up that's into it. And so I ran that, got them to about 7th level, and then the group kind of disintegrated out as they do. And now I'm running, and we had a Starfinder game in there in which I played, and that was a lot of fun. Absolutely hilarious. I played this insect creature called Click Clack, and he was the healer of the group, and he would make healing potions. And so after the battle, I'd just be like, you drink juices. Juice is good. So they're drinking all these healing potions, and I got permission from the DM to say that the cosmetics of it was that Click-Clack was producing the juices from his alien body. And so it was all unidentified alien personal juice that they were drinking the whole time. One of the dark revelations of the game. And so I loved that. I definitely want to start a Starfinder group. Man, I'm tripping up on the tongue. My brain goes faster than my mouth. Now it's 2020. Obviously, there have been some challenges to get a physical group together, but I manage. And so right now we're playing in that same Pathfinder 1.0 Kingmaker game. And I made a great map for it, which you've seen before. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, you don't need to see it. Anyway, so I started kind of like a campaign world based on my Kingmaker thing with tons and tons of characters. And it's great. It's very easy. Everyone's familiar with it. And would I like to make my own system? I don't think so. Because why would I need that? It's like, yeah, Sean, but if you build this giant thing and really flail your arms, you might build something that makes money. No, I don't think it's a little too late in the game to get cracking on that. I might do it for fun, though. That'd be a great reason to do it. And I've started writing a module that's codenamed the Cube of Torment, which is my answer to Tomb of Horrors. Because I'm looking at Tomb of Horrors, I'm like, I could have written this. And so I've taken my own spin on it, my own approach, and I've got some really good ideas. And it's something I've been picking away at. I have maybe 20 pages written. A module is 30 pages thick to do a traditional adventure module. And of course you'd have to play test it too, which would be really cool. Recently I was invited up to Valhalla, something I invented, then I didn't want to do it. Someone else took it over, did a much better job at it. That's Wargamer Girl. And I have a standing invitation there. But some years I'll do less things, and some years I'll do more things. 2 years ago I did heavy metal D&D, where I played heavy metal tracks and had like demons attacking them and stuff. And looking back at it, that was lame. That was not great. I could tell with the benefit of hindsight, I'm like, oh yeah, that was stupid. But you can't win them all. And so this year I'm going to go back with using 5th edition. I'm going to do something very classic, modularized to accommodate people kind of coming and going during the event. And I think I'm really excited about it. I have about 7 weeks to get it all together. It'll be easy. I've already done the hard part of like doing it, fixing it all up. What I really want is to, by the way, I totally enjoy blue table painting. I'll do it till the day I die. It's the best thing. I absolutely love it. There have been times in the past when I was getting kind of burned